What is going on, YouTube? It's Wad, and we need to talk about Recon Senses. I'm structuring this video a little differently today because of your guys' engagement with my video on update 1.5.5. The feedback and the support that video received blew me away, so thank you. Because it's a goal of mine to create a space where I can engage with you guys directly and you guys can engage with each other, I'm going to do everything in my power to make that possible. So today, I'm taking a step towards that goal by going over some of your suggestions for potential fixes to the Recon Senses before rounding out the video with my own thoughts. Let's get into it. Before I begin, I want to clarify my position on the Recon Senses. I know the Recon Senses in the hands of good players is often a death sentence in 1v1s and a necessity for ranked tournaments. I'm not going to shower you with my gaming accolades, but I've been playing competitive shooters for what feels like my entire life, and for the last decade at an extremely high level. Because of this, I know that more often than not, the correct philosophy for a game's player base and lifespan is taking it in the opposite direction that the competitive community wants. It is statistically impossible for most of a game's community to be in the top 5% of players, and in the rare exceptions where that is the case, it's highly undesirable for newcomers since that means a game's player count has dwindled so low that all that remains are skilled, diehard fans. The casual player base, not the competitive crowd, is what gives a game its staying power. Because of that, I believe we err if we approach balancing from the perspective of, well, all the top-level players abuse Recon Senses, so it's overpowered. The term meta exists for a reason. Good players who play the game to win and grind ladders are going to find and shift to what's best, no matter what. Do we want the game for this crowd to be as fair and as balanced as possible? Of course, but this doesn't mean it has to alter the general population's experience with the game. Casual and competitive settings are not mutually exclusive. They're just that, casual and competitive. They can coexist. They should coexist. So to make it crystal clear, my suggestions for the Recon Senses in the update video, specifically to reduce its radius and add ways that make detection avoidable, were made in the interest of the casual crowd. In this video though, the changes I'm recommending are for ranked modes. With that out of the way, let's get into your suggestions. From the comments, I noticed 4 main directions that you guys wanted to see the Recon Senses go. I'm not factoring likes into my rankings of these suggestions, just the number of comments made in favor of these changes. The 2 suggestions tied for first were reducing the radius of Recon Senses and making the Recon Senses work 2 ways. The first and more easily understandable of these changes would decrease the range in which the specialization can detect enemy players. Let's just say for now, from its seemingly uncapped limit to 25 meters. The second of these changes would add some sort of visible indicator, one that either directly told players when someone was using the Recon Senses, like by giving the user a thermal outline similar to the ones enemies receive, or by giving off some visible cue when using the specialization, like a sonar ping. The next suggestion was to make the ability passive rather than active. This change would take Recon Senses in one of 2 directions, either making it so using Recon Senses restricted its user while active, the example given was taking away their ability to aim down sights, or removing their ability to fight entirely by tying its use to an animation. The last change suggested for the Recon Senses was to change its color-specific display to one universal color. This means rather than seeing a red team, a purple team, and an orange team, users would see everyone as the same color, like white. From my understanding, the point here was that less information about who you were fighting would indirectly nerf the specialization by making it harder to third-party, prioritize teams, and pursue weakened enemies. Hey guys, it's Odd by Wad here alongside my trusty sidekick Odd by Crow to remind you that only 1.9% of you watching are subscribed. If you're enjoying my videos, take a chance on me and join the fastest growing community of champions in YouTube history. All you gotta do is hit that big red button on the bottom of your screen. Thank you guys, now let's get back to the video. So just to quickly recap, the suggestions were either to reduce its radius, give it a 2-way effect between its user and their targets, make it passive rather than active, and change its display to one universal color. When weighing these suggestions against mine, I arrived at some new ideas. My favorite of these combined a smaller radius and a passive effect. Specifically, I think I'd like to see the vertical range of the specialization reduced so that the Recon Senses only detects players one story above or below the user and expands whatever distance this is in-game horizontally. Also, rather than a permanent outline of enemy players, my specialization would briefly outline the player for 1.5 seconds. While active, this effect would emit a beeping noise that was audible to players inside its radius, signaling its use and providing players an estimate of when and for how long their outline was visible. I believe this would keep the Recon Senses a viable option for takes and holds, while also addressing some of the criticisms about its advantages in 1v1 gunfights and in holding cash-out points with ranged fire and real-time gadget and specialization adjustments. I also toyed with the idea of making the specialization's radius class-specific, so that heavies would be detected at the furthest range and lights at the shortest range. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this one in the comments. My second idea is really a slight variation on my first. In this version, the specialization's vertical and horizontal parameters would remain the same as mentioned. But rather than emitting a beeping noise in a scan that lasted for 1.5 seconds, the user instead would suffer a 25% movement penalty with it active. This would make mediums running the Recon Senses easier to combat in 1v1 situations and less effective at chasing down weakened opponents, while also maintaining the specialization's identity as a on-the-fly information gathering tool. As it stands today, those are my opinions on the direction the Recon Senses should head. I'd love to hear more of your guys' ideas for the Recon Senses, as well as your opinions on mine. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. The growth recently has been truly amazing, and for all of you joining the channel, you're awesome. For you guys tuning in, you're awesome as well. You're just one step away from being as awesome. I'm going to let this video run out now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Thermal optics active!
The socialites will need to try again. Team wiped.
Lights are gone! Hey! White!
Thermal vision active!
Zapping them!
That's the buzzer. Fantastic performance from all involved. One of our teams have just paved their way to fame. Congratulations to our winners.